Just a couple of days ago, this brand new ceiling fan was a hideous chandelier that was 25 years old. If you've got a similar project at your house, you've come to the right place because I'm going to show you every single step in how to install this ceiling fan. Now the first step is, of course, turn off the circuit breaker that's got electricity to this. So I'm going to turn these lights on this fixture, then go flip the breaker, and when the lights are off, then of course I know electricity's gone, then I can get started on the real details. So let's get rolling. First thing you're going to have to do is figure out how this is attached to your ceiling. And the good thing is, because this thing is so heavy, it's going to be pretty well supported in there for the ceiling fan. But I see we've got this nut here. Looks like a thin washer type of thing, but I know it's a nut that is holding this gold decorative piece there. Okay, and this is the typical, there's a big old screw here. It's this thing here. Big old screw that's going into this metal bracket that's attached to a junction box in there, and all that's in there. So really what I need to do is disconnect the wires. We've got wires going down into this. Disconnect those. Then I can have a helper hold the weight, and then I just unscrew this and we'll let it down. So I'm going to get those wires disconnected and go from there. Now, before you actually start touching the wires and disconnecting them and such, take one of these battery or electric testers and make sure these wires are turned off, or use something like a multimeter, which is what I typically like to do because it's more exact. And not that it needs to be exact, we're just looking for power of any kind, but these things can sometimes be imperfect. I've got all the wires disconnected, they're all unpowered, so once I physically unscrew this, we can just pull it down, and the wires from the light will just come down with it. So I've got my helper here. His job is to take the weight off by lifting up on it a little bit now. Lift up some, and that way I can unscrew this thing. And you might have to spin it with me a little bit. Yeah, you probably have to spin it with me. Come on. Oh, there we go. Boom. Ugh. Good job. Now, looking at the instructions for this thing, this is that canopy, they call it, and it tells us to take out these screws here on both sides, which takes out this bracketry of some sort, and this bracketry will attach to the junction box up above. All right. So this is just decorative, and this piece here is what attaches to the ceiling. So let's get up there and see what we got. So here's the bracket, the attachment bracket that came with this thing. And the instructions say, take this and figure out how to attach it to the junction box using whatever came with the junction box. So clearly, they don't want to take any responsibility for how this gets attached. They're just saying, this piece of hardware, if you attach it, will hold the fan. So, all right, I'm looking around here, and these two nuts on these two screws here, these are the beefiest part of this thing, and they go up into the attic, and that's what's attached real firmly. So that thing is rock solid. So what I'm going to do here, you may be able to see we've got these two slots here. This is just felt pads, but the slots are wider than what that looks like. I'm going to take these nuts off. I'm going to put this there and then reattach those nuts, and then this will be attached to the rigid part of this junction box. Now with the camera at a different angle, I wanted you to be able to see what I did here. Hopefully you can. But I just attached this bracketry, whatever you want to call it, that came with it, here and here. There's a slot through here, and I just have these locking nuts. They have nylon inside the nut, so it creates a whole lot of friction that'll keep it from rattling loose. So that feels pretty solid, and got the wires, just conveniently ran them down through here because I'm gonna have to attach that to the fan. And I think we're ready to go to the next step. Let's go. Just following the step-by-step instructions, the next step is to take the fan, the main motor assembly, and take these orange blocks off of here. I assume these are keeping the motor from spinning while it's in shipment. Don't know exactly. I don't really care. We're just going to take these out. So it says to throw away the orange pieces, but save the screws for later. So just keep track of them, put them in a pocket. There, that step's done. Next thing here is to take out this pin, looks like this cotter pin and this stabilizing pin from this, what they're calling a downrod. And then let's see what else we got to do. Now we got to flip this over, looks like, and partially loosen these set screws here, this and this. And that's, I'm sure, so that'll fit in there. Of course, we'll have to put the wires through there, but that's so that that will fit in there. So let's just do that. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that'll go in there nicely. And then this pin that we took out, I can see that that's going to go through there once that's in there, all the way to the other side. So we are making headway. Okay. So how this is going to work is this piece here is going to end up on that, and then this will go onto the ceiling, and this part here rests in that bracketry up in the ceiling. So it's going to be something like that. Sorry. Something like that. Okay, that's what that looks like at the moment. Feed the wires from the motor, this whole business, through the downrod. All right, so we're gonna have to jam all those back through that. That's awesome. Yeah. Gotta get this rod into this part of the fan, then line up that hole so we can get this pin to go through. Come on, get this out of our way. Now through one hole, got to the other hole, and then we're going to take the cotter pin and run it through that hole at the end of that little bolt. And that could have gone in the fan motor, so you're going to have to keep a good grip on it. Hope you can see we got there. Now, these set screws that I loosened earlier, we're going to just tighten those up first by hand. Probably don't need all your power, but pretty good because that'll grip into that rod. There we go. Man, this thing's annoying. Keeps falling. These grip into this rod that we just stuck in and hold it in place. There. Those are nice and snug. So now we're in business. Except, doggone it, this little rubber, there's a little rubber grommet that, shoot, fell through here. So you can probably see this rubber grommet here. That needs to be around the top of this so that the shaft as it goes through is touching the rubber grommet. That's what the completed installation from the downside looks like, or from the top side, I guess. And now I've got all these wires sticking up, probably 4 feet worth. And if I had a long extension from the ceiling, if I had a really high ceiling, I would need this, but I don't. So all I'm going to end up doing here is cutting these off about 8 inches, 12 inches, something like that, above the top of this. Otherwise, I'll have too much mess up there. Now we're going to temporarily hang the assembly here. It's going to nest into this half circular bracket, whatever the thing's called here, the part we put in earlier. So I gotta get that over and snap in. So this will go in there. So it goes in there like that. You can see how I got it in there. And then there's, probably should have shown you, maybe you can see it, but there's four grooves in that top piece that's a half moon, the part that went in. There's 4 grooves in it, and you've got to spin it until you probably saw that last thump down. There's a little tab in this bracket that I attached to the ceiling. You've got to spin this until those slots, one of those slots, catches that bracket, and that will keep this thing more solid than it already is. So now what I got to do, and this may have been easier to do if I'd had a helper here, but wire these up while I'm up here. Now we're going to install or prepare the blades for installation. Now we've got the wires connected up top, and we've got the motor installed up top. We're going to take the fan blades and these arms. These will attach on here, and then I guess we'll go the other way. And then this will attach to the motor, and that's what will spin this. So these are just gonna, that washer on there to snug them on there and prevent vibration. These probably don't also need to be torqued as hard as you possibly can. In fact, just a handheld screwdriver is the way to do this. Start with that middle one as far as snugging them. Right now I'm just getting them started here, getting them most of the way in. So those are, yeah, so now I'm gonna snug that one pretty tight. Same. There. Just do that to the other 4, and then we'll put those onto the motor. Now, with the screws that we removed earlier, with those little orange blocks that were on there, we're going to put these blades back in a regular old Phillips head screwdriver here. So we're going to get them nice and snug, nice and tight there, because you definitely don't want these things coming off. With all the blades on there nice and tight, the next step is, and we're almost at the end, is to attach this light fixture piece. That'll just connect. I don't have to do any wiring, just plug that connector into that connector. But in order to attach this, there are 3 screws in this bottom plate that we need to remove, and those will be what attaches that. So, and the 3 holes from the 3 screws I just took out, we're going to put those back in. But first, I need to connect this connector. And now the last step before we put the turn the electricity on is put these bulb covers on and of course put light bulbs in. So you pull this plastic nut off, put this glass thing in here, and then screw it back on. And do that times 4 and put in 4 bulbs. Then we're going to turn on electricity and see if we kill ourselves. There we go. That's all there is to it. The ceiling fan's in, the lights work, everything went exactly as planned, and saved myself $219 in the process because that's what Lowe's charges for installation, and I imagine a handyman would be similar. But you can see how easy that is. Follow the instructions, be willing to take a little adventure, and just figure it out as you go. I hope that was helpful. If you've got questions as you do yours, leave those in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to them quickly. Check out my channel. There's all kinds of other good things on there, I think. Subscribe, please. Thanks for watching.